All right, so continuing on from last Sunday, if you were here, we talked about, starting a series on friendship and what friendship actually is. We noticed how more and more in our society, I don't know if you've noticed, that a lot of people don't have close friends and often feel lonely. In fact, in 2019, 1 in 4 people had no one to confide in. 9 in 10 downplay how they feel so they don't burden other people. 18 to 30-year-olds were more withdrawn than those over 50, and men were more withdrawn than women. It says that 1 in 4 Australians regularly feel lonely, and 3 in 10 don't belong to any friendship group. Now, I don't know about you, but that's like a lot of people. That shocked me reading that 9 in 10 people downplay how they feel so that they don't burden other people. And I think, when I look at friendship, that is one of those things that is really important to me, is that I can share how I feel with other people and other people can share how they feel with me. To think that 9 in 10 people didn't have that feeling that they could share how they felt with others so that they didn't burden other people, that was really surprising to me. Since these studies, we've also had a pandemic, and I'd say we've had a health one, but we've also had a loneliness one, because we are isolated much more than we ever have been, or maybe not as much now, but for a couple of years there was a lot of time where we didn't really see anyone. Loneliness has actually been recognised as a chronic health condition, and it's one that we as Christians should deeply care about, in my opinion. I think, it's really important that we acknowledge that that is a condition that a lot of people are facing. Some people here as well, and something that we need to talk about. It's important. So last week we talked about what friendship is and that our friendships matter, and we talked about how they are unique, valuable, deep and powerful. It's really hard to live life well without a few close friends. This week I want to talk about the nature and qualities of friendship and how to make friends. Let me see if I can I've got to remember to do this. I'm not going to be very good at that. The main point for this morning is, I think, be open to being known. Just from looking at what the aspects of friendship are and how to make friends, I think this is one of the things that kind of came back to me over and over again, was we need to be open to being known by people, and have people be open to being known by us. Just as God wants us to know Him and He wants to know us, the basis of a good friendship is knowing that person and being open to being known. The start of the year, I'll be honest, I don't really think I would have gotten up here and talked about this topic, because I felt like a lot of my friends were moving overseas, or moving to the mainland, or going back to the mainland, or just leaving, or travelling, or I don't know, I of course felt like I still had some friends, but there was just a lot of people going, and it was a really hard time for me, and I sort of sat there and I was like, I don't have any friends. Obviously I do, but it was a time where I felt, a bit isolated and a bit I feel like I have friends, but I don't feel like the people I am friends with know me as some of these friends that were leaving know me, or that I could be known to them, or they could be known to me. And it was people that I felt like they knew me, I knew them, because we were open with each other, and we hung out a lot, we spent a lot of time together, we were physically in contact with each other a lot, and I think that's really valuable. But it was like they were physically leaving one by one, and it was just like, okay. And what struck me was the fact that I actually had to put some effort in, and not just go, all right, that's it, friends are gone. It was like, there are people around me that I love and that I should, go and make an effort with, and go and put some conversation into practice or whatever. And I think one of the things that kind of got that ball rolling for me was Annette turning up, and she came back from Melbourne. I don't know if you know, Annette was here for a year in 2021, and I probably didn't put that much effort into being a nice friend to Annette, because I knew she was leaving again. I was friendly to her, but we didn't hang out that much, and then by the time she left, I was like, oh, bummer. But then she came back, and she came over one day when she got back here before she started working, and I said, come over for the afternoon, and she stayed for 5 hours, and we just went blah, 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 which is great. And it was one of those things where I was like, wow, if I actually put effort into a conversation with someone, I can feel like I'm known by someone, and someone can know me. I had to start to be open to being known again with someone new. It's hard at first, but it's so rewarding. We like it when we feel known, and we like it when people feel like they can be themselves around us. And in essence, I think this is what friendship is, a relationship we have the sole reason of enjoying like the sole reason is for enjoying the relationship. So last week we talked about types of friends. We talked about work friends, school friends, people you know, old friends, new friends, family friends, close friends, lots of different types of friends. This morning I want to look at good close friends and what actually makes a good friendship. So this week I want to talk about the nature of friendship, what makes a good friend, and how to make friends. So I want to look at 7 things that make a good friendship. The first one being trust and loyalty. Proverbs 11:13 says, "A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. Trustworthy people honour their commitments, keep our confidence, and remain loyal in all circumstances." An example in the Bible, David talked about this last week, and we talked about it in our Love Unplugged series. David and Jonathan, loyal to each other. Even though Jonathan's dad, Saul, wanted David dead, Jonathan protected him, and I think if you look at that, like if my friend's father wanted me dead, I don't know if I'd be really good friends with that person. I think I'd like to be, but if they wanted me dead, I probably would have something against that family. But Jonathan actually stayed by David, and he was loyal, and he protected David. Again, we look at Ruth and Naomi, a little bit different mother-in-law situation, but Ruth and Naomi, their devotion to each other, Ruth could have gone back to her own people, but instead she stayed with Naomi. Ruth 1:16 says, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay." I think trust and loyalty are one of those things that we can, especially in our culture, sort of just put aside sometimes in our friendships. It's like as soon as something goes a little bit wrong, it's like, nah, sorry, like that's it, like it's over. Or in our relationships in general, we kind of go, yeah, they betrayed my trust, that's it, like it's done. But I think forgiveness actually comes into this element of a good friendship as well, in that when our friend does betray our trust, like that aspect of forgiveness, a lot of people are quick to become angry and slow to listen, even to their closest friends. But a good friend is quick to listen and slow to become angry. We talked about this with our small group. I don't know if anyone's even in here still. Emma's in here still. You girls are up there too. I didn't even see you there. We talked about this on Friday night in our small group at youth group. We're doing a book called Untangling Emotions, and it talks about how we deal emotionally with other people, how we deal emotionally with ourselves and with God, and just engaging our emotions in the Bible. And we talked about how forgiveness actually comes around, and how important an aspect of our friendships that forgiveness can be. Taking the time to actually think about our problems and talk about them openly and honestly, it usually actually works out a lot better for us when we do that. And I think that's an important aspect. Like it's easy to say trust and loyalty are an important part of friendship, but when something does go wrong in our friendships, we're very quick sometimes to just put that aside. But I think, it is really important to sit down and be honest with each other and to actually discuss our problems and work on forgiveness in a lot of situations. The second thing that I think makes a good friendship is openness and honesty. I'm going to do a little poll. Hands up if you feel like you have friends who don't like to talk about anything other than the weather. Just a few people. Okay. Do you feel close and connected to those people? Probably not. Being open and honest with your close friends is important to have good friendships. It's different to verbal diarrheaing. That's the only word I could think of for this situation. It's different to just going up to anyone and just going, this is my whole life story, blah, blah, blah. This is everything I care about, everything I know, just at any person you've just met. That's a little bit different. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But something we have to learn is to be open and honest with other people, but in a sensible way. Something I've definitely had to learn because I an open book most of the time and have had to learn to keep my mouth shut at times. Proverbs 27:6 says, "Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses." Honest close friends who are willing to speak the truth can be trusted, and good friendships honour each other even in difficult conversations. Having a few close friends you can be open with about yourself, how you're really feeling, and how things are going through in your life is really important. Takes a weight off your chest when we can be open with someone who listens to us and who we trust. I think that's really important. I know if I've left a conversation with someone I trust and I've expressed how I'm feeling about something, then I definitely leave with a much lighter sense of that situation. even if it's not resolved, definitely leave knowing that I've shared something with someone I trust who can bear that burden with us. And I think that comes back to that thing I said at the start about so many people not feeling like they can bear that burden with other people. So yeah, I think that's really important. Honesty is not, honesty all the time I think is important, not just some of the time, because a lot of the time honesty doesn't seem like the easier option. Feels like we might not get, might just slip past, it's okay, I'll just keep it to myself this time. But actually, I think honesty usually works out for the best if we just go for that option at the start, rather than being dishonest with our friends. So I think openness and honesty are really important for a good friendship. Consistency, and I think this is a big one in our culture, being reliable and available. A lot of talk goes around our society about self-care, self-love, putting my needs above others. It's a very prevalent message in our society, and I'm probably being really controversial by saying this, but this whole self-care, self-love culture, I think, is actually, to some extent, ruining our friendships and our relationships with other people, because we want to do what works best for us. If we're just feeling like, don't really want to go out today, I'll just stay at home. We just think about our own selfish desires, and I've been guilty of this at times, but I think, I think there's a difference between choosing who you spend your time with, and choosing that wisely, and actually just being consistent and reliable towards people. I think one of the biggest things in conversations with other people that I've had have been this idea that, they're wanting to hang out with their friends, but their friends don't show up, their friends are unreliable, their friends just cancel at the last minute. I've had plenty of friends who I would call, some of my close friends just bail every time that we were going to catch up, and it's like, it leaves you with that sunken feeling of that person isn't reliable, that person, doesn't want to be there for me. It leaves me feeling hurt and invaluable, I guess. It makes me feel, not really nice towards those people. I think, so there is a difference between choosing wisely who you spend your time with. It's important to pick friends who energize you and who you actually want to spend time with. And I think there does come a point where looking after yourself is definitely important. I'm not saying that it isn't, but I think a lot of the time we can put too much emphasis on looking after ourselves and not on, giving to people who we do call our close friends. We need to be people that others can count on. Leaves us feeling hurt, not needed or appreciated, and not valuable. There are times when we might have to have a rest for ourselves, but too often this comes at the expense of hurting other people, our close friends, in the name of self-care a lot of the time. Philippians 2:3 says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves." We need to value the needs of others as equal to our own needs. Perhaps we can think of a friend that might need us to be more available or reliable. Maybe you can think of someone in your life that you bail on sometimes, or you just don't make an effort to reach out to them. And I can think of people in my life, but people that we should probably put a little bit more effort into being consistent and reliable. And I think sometimes we think if they need us to be more available or reliable, why don't they ask? But I think the reality is that when we're feeling lonely, we don't want to have to ask other people to be there for us. I think our closest friends should already be onto that, and our friends need us to be available and reliable for them. In a similar vein, a good friendship is one of... Thank you. Oh, back. Thanks. In a similar vein, a good friendship is a two-way friendship, a friendship of mutuality, one where both people initiate conversation, both people initiate hanging out, spending time together and sharing openly. It's not one person telling their whole life story and the other person going, cool, nice day today, isn't it? It's whether it's be sharing our homes, buying the other person a coffee, looking after their kids. Won't always be 50-50 either. It's sometimes, in fact, it can't always be 50-50, and it probably hardly ever will be 50-50. But that's the point of having friends. There will be seasons in good friendships where one person can't give half the effort and the other can give more. And I think we undervalue that sometimes in our friendships. We can actually reach out to those people and we can be there for each other, and sometimes one person will be giving 90 and one person will be giving 10, and sometimes it swings back the other way. Some ways that we can give more when a close friend needs it. Take them out for a coffee, looking after their kids when they need some downtime or just had a baby, making a meal, and doing the asking questions, asking to hang out thing. I think that's a really important thing in and of itself, is actually, this person's really struggling, I can see that. I'll be the one to, yes, maybe they're not asking me how I'm going, but it's my turn to ask them how they're going, ask them if they'd like to come out for a coffee. Even when it is 80-20 though, it still needs to go both ways in different seasons of our friendships. Close friends look after each other. We want to spend time with them and give energy to them. In that comes as well our love of shared experiences. A good friendship has shared experiences, whether it's serving together, holidaying together, leisure activities. Jesus and his disciples spent extensive time together, teaching, traveling, eating, miracles. They witnessed Jesus' work and they faced challenges and learnt together. And I think that's probably our best example. In fact, that is definitely our best example. Jesus and his disciples spent a lot of time together. And I'm not saying we have to live together and go out and do absolutely everything together. But I think, these shared experiences are what bring us together. It brings a sense of, oh, you get that and I get that and we've done that together, and it brings nostalgia and it brings memories and it brings all kinds of things back to us when we consider those friendships and those experiences that we've shared together. Jesus and his disciples served together. Serving with our friends is something incredibly bonding that we can do together. And as Christians, we have this in common, and participating in service with one another leads to stronger friendship and often new relationships and deeper connection. David mentioned last week C.S. Lewis's quote, "Friendship is born at the moment when one person says to another, 'What? You too? I thought I was the only one.'" And this is one of the foundational things that comes out in making friends. We're going to come back to this in a moment. We need a common ground most of the time, something we were looking for in a person or a friend to be brought to the surface in conversation, and we discover that someone else gets it. Good friendships are friendships where we can enjoy things together, whether it be serving, holidaying, going to the gym, walking, cafe working, going to the beach, all kinds of things. Anything really, it doesn't matter what it is, but good friendships are friendships where we can do things together. And where we want to do things together because we have those similar interests. And I think, friendships are that relationship in our life that we do get to choose, and for the only reason of enjoying that relationship with each other. So I think that is important, to find things that you enjoy doing together. Am I pointing it at the right place? Oh, too far. There we go. Conversation. We won't talk too much about conversation. Davo told me I was not allowed to talk much about conversation, but I think it is my longest section. But next week we're talking about communication. Don't tell him. Actually, he's probably listening. Never mind. Sorry, Dad. Taking an interest in people, digging a little bit deeper, asking questions, following up with people. Won't talk too much about this, but quality conversation is one of the most important qualities in a good friendship, and I can't go past not mentioning it. If I asked you how well you knew the person sitting 2 rows behind you, chances are you'd say, not that well. Maybe I've asked them how it's going sometimes, or I've been on the greeting and said, hey, once or twice. But if I ask maybe the person next to you, maybe it's your husband or your wife or a close friend, maybe your child, maybe that's that person you know a little bit better. You've spent time talking to them and engaging with them and asking questions deeper than how was work today. Plenty of people around in my life a lot of the time, and this was something that I probably thought about a lot last year, was, it just felt like there were a lot of people around me. Like I was at church and I was at young adults, and young adults were at my house, and I was at youth, and youth were here, and we were doing a lot of things together. But sometimes it can feel like we don't know that much about people. And I think a conversation is one of those things that really does bond strong friendships together. And I think we all know that. I don't need to point that out too much, but I think we all know that having those real conversations with people creates a strong bond with each other. And how we talk with our friends matters if we want to build quality close friendships. Digging deeper when appropriate, asking questions, remember and following up, taking an interest in various aspects of their life. It takes effort, even for extroverts like me, apparently. It can be quite hard. People think that because I'm an extrovert, it's really easy for me to go talk to people. No, it takes effort for all of us, and it's not an excuse for us to just say, oh, I'm not really good at talking to people, so I don't really need to. Like, it's one of those things where we all have to do that to keep good friendships and to make good friendships, and we're going to come back to that in a second as well. Proverbs 20 verse 5 says, the The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Taking time to engage in conversations and listen to others can help you learn more about them. It leads to deeper connection and knowledge of that person. Proverbs 27:17, a well-known verse, says, "Iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another." Meaningful conversations sharpen perspectives, challenge beliefs, and help us grow, and we need that in our relationships with each other. We can engage in meaningful conversation, and we should put effort into it because it is actually beneficial for our friendships and also for our own mental health. I think is really important to actually have those conversations, to be in conversation with other people. Last thing I want to talk about in terms of qualities of a good friendship is being for each other. Good friendships aren't competitive. They want the best for each other. They share their struggles and wins and are supportive regardless of what's going on in their life. Friends will likely have similar interests or goals. I don't know if you figure that out. You usually have things in common with your friends. But it's important to cheer each other on, not be always trying to get ahead. I know for me, I've had a little bit of tension sometimes in friendships. If one of my friends is, say, owns a business and I own a business, and it's like, oh, but like, that's not the point of friendships. The point of friendship is to kind of encourage each other in that. And we, bounce ideas off each other and we cheer each other on in that situation because that's something we have in common and it's something that we, know how to talk about together. So it's something that we can, encourage each other. Mark 10:45 says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." Romans 12:10 says, "Be devoted to one another in love, honour one another above yourselves." It's vital to keeping good friends. Selflessness and serving, it's threaded all through the Bible, and its selfish desires harm our relationships. I'm going to move on to talking about how to make good friends, because I think it's really important in this series to actually get practical, because we can talk about friendship, but we can read friendship in the Bible, and that's great, but we all need friends in our lives, and so I want to talk quickly about how we actually make friends. First one is being about something. Interesting people attract people. We've all tried to strike up conversation with people who don't say much or don't seem to do very much. Interesting people are much easier to get to know. It doesn't mean you have to have millions of hobbies and millions of things you do. It's just having something that you care about and having passions in life and having goals. And I think that's something that we can work on in ourselves, is having things that we're about. Even if it's going to church, that's a great thing to be about. Something that we can be about and something that we can, that makes us an interesting person. Like for me, I find I like health and fitness, I love cooking, I own a Pilates studio, I'm a youth and worship pastor, I've had a few health issues in my life that I've had to work through on my own, I've seen some places, I like being out with some friends. I think there's things about me that I find those are the things that connect me to the people I'm meeting, and those are the things where I go, oh, you're interested in that too. We discover that we're actually about new things. We learn new things, spend time with interesting people, having some hobbies, a job you enjoy. You become about something. People will say, what? Me too, I thought I was the only one. Friendships need to be discovered, but they also need to be developed. They can come unexpectedly at times, but they still take work. We need to turn up at the right places and with the right people. I was joking around when I was writing my notes at first. I was like, don't turn up at nightclubs if you want to make sensible friends. But in all seriousness, no one laughed. All the kids are out there. Thank you. The right people are important. You will become like the people you hang around. If you hang around with 5 gamers, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 people who go to the gym, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 people who go to church, you'll quickly become the 6th. This is very well proven, documented everywhere. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." Church. I think church is really important. Church is one of those right places, and you're here this morning, and good on you, because this is a great place to meet people and a great place to discover new people who have the same interest as you, and I think that's fantastic. Seeking friendships in the wrong crowds or with the wrong people will lead us astray. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." The people we choose to become friends with will impact the way we live and the direction of our life. We need to hang out and hang around people you want to live like, and go to the places they would be if you wanted to make friends with them. It's really important to go and hang around in places or with the people that you want to become friends with. And I think that, like I said, if you go to church, you'll make friends who go to church, and that will determine the outcome of how we live our life. Same with all kinds of, different situations, like I mentioned. Am I doing something wrong, or is it just not working? Thanks. We can initiate and take risks. A lot of the time in life, we like to sit around and hope that something will just fall into our lap. It's a bit lazy, but it's what we do, because we're humans. But actually not sitting around and hoping someone will fall into your lap. This can happen sometimes, but friendly people are much more likely to make friends. In a lot of areas of life, we don't like to put the hard work in. We'd rather everything just fell into our laps. And unfortunately, this doesn't often lead to a lot of success. Sometimes we get offered a good job without doing their work or applying for the job. Sometimes someone will stumble across you and decide that they want to be your best friend and make all the effort for you on your behalf. But we actually need to put the effort in. We need to initiate and take risks and go up to someone and say, "Hi, my name is Grace. How are you today? Like, what do you do?" Get to know people. And it's not always comfortable, but a lot of things in life aren't comfortable really, and I think it's really important to actually go and introduce yourself to people, and I think that's something that I've done this year. I know Laura's sitting up the back, and I went up to Laura and I said, "Hey, I'm Grace, like, nice to meet you." Talk to her for like 2 minutes, but again, go and talk to her the next week for 2 minutes and have coffee, have dinner with that family. Like, these things, when we take risks, we are much more likely to get friendships out of those risks. Friendly people are much more likely to make friends. Let's see if I can do it. I got it. Did I get it? No, never mind. Don't come on too strong. Be friendly but not over the top. This one's a bit of a not do to make good friends rather than a do-do. I said do-do. Questions help build our relationships, but good friendships happen somewhat naturally after the initial steps are taken. Deep questions, not just how are you, but questions that encourage people to dig deeper and open up. These build relationships. If you ask someone that you've never met some really deep, theological, weird question, they're going to go, weirdo, 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 like never talking to you again. But if someone asked us, we'd definitely run away, right? Like if someone just came up to us and said, "Hi, my name's Grace, what do you think about hell?" Like, I'd be like, "Whoa, hello." But if we start safe and then build deep, Jonah Berger, an author, said, "Deep self-disclosure requires social connection. But to get to that point, people need to feel safe first. So to deepen social relationships or turn strangers into friends, start simple and build from there, encouraging reciprocal self-disclosure." We need to start safe, ask get to know you questions, but don't stop there. It doesn't stop with, "Oh, we've known these people for 20 years, but like we're still just asking how you doing, how's work today." Like it keeps going. As we get to know people a little bit more and as we spend more time with them, we need to open up and be willing to ask questions. Not coming on too strong at the start, but to get to know people in a friendly and approachable way. And then as we get to know people, we ask more questions. And really, your turn. We show an interest in people. Asking questions, remembering what they've told you, following up, showing up at things they invite you to and inviting them to things as well. Being reliable, it comes back to conversation. It comes back to that idea of consistency, being reliable, being available for those people that we care about in our lives. Introducing yourself to people. Some people I know like to have a list of questions in their phone that they might possibly be able to ask people if they come across them, because I acknowledge that some people those questions don't just come naturally to us. But there are things we can do. We can have a list of questions. We can go home after we meet someone new, write down their name. I know Nat Davis does that. She goes home, she has a little list of all the new people that she's met. Write down their name, write down something interesting about them, write down what they told you about their life, and you can ask them and follow up about them. If you can't remember those things, then take steps to actually make people feel like they are known by you. We can follow up with people, we can watch someone go play sport, we can go to the park with their kids together, we can invite people to things that we're already doing with a few closer friends. Sometimes if you just, I don't know, maybe you're watching the soccer with your mates, maybe you can invite someone who's not, who might not be doing that. Maybe you can find someone who can come along and be invited and be a part of something. We can show an interest in people even when, they might need that more than we might need it as well. We can be hospitable. And a group of us women have been reading a book called The Gospel Comes with a House Key in the last couple of weeks, and it's a book about radically ordinary hospitality in a post-Christian world, and it does talk a lot about this lady who lives in America, Rosaria Butterfield, and she is like mega hospitality lady, like crazy. If you read that book, you're like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. But we've taken a lot out of that in that, like, we can be hospitable to people by having them over, by going out for a coffee. If you invite them into your home, or if you don't want to invite them into your home at first, go out for a coffee with that person, have lunch with them at work, meet up with them somewhere, go for a walk together. There are things that we can do together, and as Christians, I think that's so important. We've lost that aspect in our culture of having people over for dinner. Like, it's like, oh, I'm going out for dinner. I'll say that to like my Pilates people or something. They're like, oh, which restaurant are you going to? I'm like, no, to some friend's house. And they're like, oh. Like, it's like weird that I would go to some friend's house for dinner, which we don't really quite understand sometimes. But having people over, being hospitable towards each other is really important. We can serve together. Did I do that? Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. 2 are better than one because they have a good return for their labour. If either of them falls, one can help the other up. Pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. We can do that here. That is a really good place to start. We can be on greeting with someone, we can do the worship team, we can join the garden team, we can youth lead, we can make a meal for someone, stay for a chat after church. That's serving people, making coffee, washing the dishes. I think sometimes some of the best conversations I've had are probably doing the dishes with someone after dinner if I've had them over, or doing the dishes at church after youth group or something like that. Some of those best conversations can happen when we're doing a task with another person. It's also a little bit less awkward and intimidating when you're doing something together and there's something else going on rather than just sitting face to face with someone at a coffee shop, if you find that a bit first up. But yeah, I think serving together is really important. It's something that we can do, something that Jesus did, and something that Jesus and his disciples, they spent time together and they served together alongside Jesus. They went out and did work together. We can serve together, spend time learning together, and we can make friends that way. Lastly and most importantly, I want to look at Jesus as a great friend. Jesus fulfills the qualities of a true friend. And we find that all through the Bible, and really that's what this message is all about. But yeah, we want to make that practical as well. So Jesus is loyal, he's honest, he's consistent, he's interested in us, and he turns up for us even when we need him to, and he's for us even when everyone else is against us. And I think that's really important. And we can find that by reading in our Bible, reading all through Scripture. We find, that those qualities of Jesus and God and the friendship that we can find in him, and I think that's super important. So just to summarize, what makes a good friend? We have trust and loyalty, openness and honesty, consistency, being reliable and available, mutuality. Two-way friendships make a good friendship. When one person is doing all the work, it doesn't make the other person feel like they want to put in that work. So I think it's really important to go two ways with that friendship, whether it's 80-20 or whether it's 50-50 sometimes, but we need to be putting effort into going both ways with our friendships, both putting in the time to ask each other questions and to ask each other to hang out and do things together. Shared experiences, serving, holidays, leisure activities, you pick it, doesn't matter what it is, but doing things with our friends, sharing those experiences. Conversation, taking an interest, digging deeper, asking questions, following up with the other person. We're going to be talking a lot more about that next week when we look at communication and being for the other person. Not trying to tear each other down, but actually really trying to build each other up in those similar interests that we have with those people. It's really important. And how can we make good friends? Well, be about something. Interesting people attract people. I think that's a really important one to remember. Turn up at the right places with the right kinds of people. Initiate and take risks. After church today, go find someone and be like, I actually have not met you yet. My name is Grace. I would love to ask you about your week. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Go find someone. Get them a coffee at the coffee machine. Not coming on too strong. Being friendly but not over the top. Start simple and build. Showing an interest in people. Hanging out with their friends. Going to things they invite you to. Inviting them to things. Following up with them. Making an effort to remember what they talk about. Serving together, following Jesus' example. Serving and living with people is what truly bonds close friends together. And lastly, turn to Jesus as our example. He's loyal, honest, consistent. He's for our friends, even when others are against them. And I think that is the basis of our good Christian close friendships. So our application is actually the same point as our main point, because I think it is to be open to being known. And I think it's to be open to being known by your friends, by people who could be our friends, by people who might actually need a friend. Even if you feel like you're kind of all fine and dandy and you don't really need any more friends, there are plenty of people, and the studies would show that there are people here and people all around us that need a friend. And even if we feel like we've kind of got it all sorted out and we don't need any more friends, but a lot of the time we should be open to being known by people who might actually need a friend. And most importantly, being open to being known by Jesus. Let him know you. As we become closer to him, we become more like him and better friends to those around us. And I think that's, really where I want to leave it this morning. Being open to being known, most importantly, by Jesus. Let him know you. As we become closer to him, we become more like him and better friends to those around us. So finding friends in Jesus and, making that effort to go and make new friends and build on those friendships we already have. So I'll just pray and then I'll invite the worship team back up to come. Father God, I thank you that we can be here and we can talk about friendship and we can find our friendship in you and we can be known by you. Lord, I ask that anyone who's here this morning who feels like maybe they don't have close friends, that you would just be put your arms around them, and that, Lord, that you would touch people who are here who do feel like they have close friends, that we can actually go and meet new people, even if we feel like we have it kind of sorted out. Lord, I pray that you would help us to be open to inviting more people into our circle of friends. I ask that we would just be open to being known by each other, by our friends, by people who couldn't be our friend, and by people who might need a friend. But most importantly, Lord, I ask that you would help us to be open to being known by you. Lord, we know that as we become closer to you, we become more like you and we become better friends to the people around us. And we ask that you would just, come and dwell in our hearts even more this week. And just that your love and your loyalty and your peace would just flow out of us into our relationships that we have in our everyday lives. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.